This story is the result of a month-long investigation, piecing together court documents, exclusive interviews with confidential sources, and a tragic timeline of events that TLC and the Castravet family never wanted made public. The story does not begin with a dramatic moment, but with quiet trouble. After losing $75,000 in his business, Andrei Castravet suffered a major financial setback. But that was only the beginning. According to confidential sources, Andrei became deeply involved in online gambling and accumulated nearly $350,000 in debt. As he failed to repay what he owed, a lawsuit was filed against him. The situation escalated, and Andrei was eventually arrested. The case went to court, and after a lengthy hearing, the judge delivered the final verdict. Based on the evidence and testimony presented, Andrei Castravet was sentenced to 1 year and 2 months in prison. As this truth came to light, the situation became even more tragic. During this financial crisis, Andrei's wife, Elizabeth, became overwhelmed. The pressure, the secrets, and the betrayal became too much. Eventually, Elizabeth made the painful decision to leave him, and the couple divorced. To understand how Andrei's life unraveled, we have to go back to the beginning. Andrei Castravet always projected confidence. From his early days on 90 Day Fiancé, he often clashed with Elizabeth's family, especially her father, Chuck. The main issue was Andrei's work ethic, or what others believed was a lack of one. Andrei was determined to prove he was not a freeloader. He wanted to be seen as a provider. Eventually, Chuck invested $75,000 to help Andrei start a real estate business in Florida. On the show, this was portrayed as a success story, a redemption arc for the often criticized Moldovan immigrant. Andrei appeared to be flipping houses, closing deals, and finally earning the respect he had long wanted. But our investigation reveals that what viewers saw on television was incomplete. In late 2022, Andrei's real estate business suffered a major off-camera loss. A property flip in the Tampa area went terribly wrong. Andrei had invested a large amount of money into the project. The home inspection failed to uncover serious structural and plumbing problems. Renovation costs quickly doubled, then tripled. At the same time, the housing market cooled just as the property was ready to be listed. The house had to be sold at a major loss just to escape the mortgage. According to 2 sources close to the family, the loss nearly wiped out the entire $75,000 investment Chuck had provided. Andrei was devastated. This was not just about money, it was about pride. He felt like he had failed. The pressure to recover the loss and maintain the image of success became overwhelming. It was during this moment of desperation that Andrei made a life-altering decision. He turned to online gambling, believing it would be a quick way to win back his losses and prove everyone wrong. At first, the gambling was small, sports betting on international soccer and American football. It seemed manageable. But after the real estate failure, the bets became larger. Andrei moved into high-stakes online poker and blackjack, accessible at any hour from his phone or laptop. He would stay up all night. Elizabeth believed he was working on business deals, but instead he was locked in his office, staring at a screen. Sometimes he won big, $10, 000, or even $15,000 in a single night. He would talk about buying a new car or taking expensive vacations. But that is how gambling traps people. The wins pull you in, and the losses destroy you. According to financial records obtained by our sources, Andrei used personal savings, credit lines, and even business accounts to fund his addiction. He was chasing his losses, convinced that the next big win would erase everything. In less than 9 months, Andrei accumulated gambling losses, totaling nearly $350,000. This debt was not owed to a bank, but to a network of largely unregulated online gambling platforms. These platforms offer credit to high rollers and make it dangerously easy to fall into massive debt. When payments stop, they do not send reminders. They send threats and lawyers. In early 2023, one gambling platform based overseas, but represented legally in the United States, filed a civil lawsuit against Andrei in a Florida court for more than $140,000 in unpaid debt. This lawsuit sent shockwaves through the household. Elizabeth, who sources say did not fully understand the extent of the gambling, was blindsided. The image of the successful real estate entrepreneur collapsed overnight. The arguments became constant. Chuck found out. The entire family found out. Andrei was being served legal papers at his home. Elizabeth felt betrayed on every level. The money was gone, but more importantly, the trust was destroyed. Andrei failed to respond to the lawsuit on time. He missed court dates, seemingly hoping the problem would disappear. It did not. The judge issued a bench warrant for contempt of court. On the morning of May 12, 2023, Andrei was arrested in his driveway by sheriff's deputies. Neighbors watched as he was handcuffed and placed into a patrol car. Elizabeth witnessed the arrest from inside the home with their daughter and collapsed from the shock. Andrei was taken to the county jail, booked, fingerprinted, and spent the night behind bars before posting bond the next day. What began as a civil case quickly escalated. The gambling platform's legal team presented evidence that Andrei had used business funds for personal gambling, raising potential criminal charges. The state became involved. Andrei was charged with wire fraud and theft by deception. Shortly after Andrei began serving his sentence, Elizabeth filed for divorce. The marriage was declared irretrievably broken. Sources close to Elizabeth say it was the hardest decision she ever made, but she felt she had no choice. The man she married was gone, replaced by someone consumed by addiction. The divorce was finalized without contest. Elizabeth was granted full custody of their daughter. She moved out of the family home and has since been focused on rebuilding her life with the support of her family. Andrei remains incarcerated with a projected release date in mid-2024. Upon release, he may face deportation proceedings due to the felony conviction. His relationship with Elizabeth's family is beyond repair. Chuck feels betrayed not only financially but emotionally because of the pain inflicted on his daughter. Elizabeth is now a single mother, trying to move forward after years of secrets and heartbreak. What once appeared to be a fairy tale on 90 Day Fiancé has ended in tragedy. This story is a powerful reminder of the destructive nature of addiction, the danger of hidden truths, and the pressure of living a public life. The reality shown on television is often fragile, and chasing an image can cost everything that truly matters. Our thoughts remain with everyone affected, especially the innocent child caught in the middle of it all. More updates are coming. Shocking news has recently shaken the 90 Day Fiancé world, as Elizabeth and Andrei have made a major announcement that has left fans stunned. But that was only the beginning. A shocking secret forced the family to leave the country. Things got even worse when the couple decided to take a break after their worst fight ever. Just when fans thought it couldn't get any more dramatic, Alexei accidentally revealed Andrei's massive secret. 90 Day Fiancé stars Elizabeth and Andrei's announcement caused a stir. Miscommunication led to an unexpected public declaration during their recent trip to Moldova, and their relationship took a serious turn. In the most recent episode of 90 Day Fiancé, happily ever after, the couple, married for 8 years with 2 children, clashed over their future plans. The conflict began when Andrei threw a huge party for his relatives and friends back home, reminiscent of their lavish wedding celebration years earlier. Speaking in Romanian, he told the group what he thought was a shared decision about their family's future. In a teaser, Andrei said he and Elizabeth would be moving to Moldova permanently with their children. Because of the language barrier, Elizabeth did not understand what he was saying. "I don't know what's going on, so I feel kind of stupid. Some things are lost in translation because of my limited Romanian," Elizabeth explained in a confessional. She was confused about the announcements and the lavish fireworks Andrei used to celebrate what he believed was their permanent move. This incident highlighted long-standing communication problems between them. Elizabeth's limited Romanian has caused repeated misunderstandings, especially when important decisions are being made. After Andrei's declaration, Elizabeth seemed shocked and confused. "I don't know what the hell I'm doing here," she said, suggesting they had not actually agreed to move permanently. Elizabeth was also concerned about practical issues, like sharing a bathroom with 6 others during their stay in Moldova. Some fans felt her reaction seemed staged rather than realistic. The misunderstanding showed deeper problems with the couple's decision-making. Elizabeth indicated they were seeing the trip differently. Andrei assumed she had agreed to the move, while she had not. Before leaving for Moldova, Elizabeth spoke with friends Lauren Breivik and Yara Zaya about the possible move. Both expressed doubts, worrying about the practical realities of living abroad. Elizabeth emphasized that no snap decision had been made. She wanted to explore what Moldova could offer their family. Despite her friends' concerns, Elizabeth was open to Andrei's idea of establishing a future in his home country, wanting to assess schools and opportunities for their children. The couple currently owns property in Florida. In 2021, they paid $397,900 for land in Zephyr Hills, where they built a 4-bedroom, 4-bathroom, 2-story house. Andrei Castravet revealed a shocking secret on 90 Day Fiancé. Happily ever after that forced Elizabeth and their children to leave Moldova. Their desires had been at odds for most of the season. Andrei hoped the family vacation would convince Elizabeth to support his plan to return home permanently. She, however, remained hesitant and sought advice from her father, Chuck, as well as fellow cast members Lauren Breivik and Yara Zaya. Several surprises occurred during the trip. Elizabeth ended up returning to the U.S. with their children without Andrei. Afterward, Andrei disclosed that he had lost about $75,000 due to a poor investment related to the Russian-Ukrainian conflict. Elizabeth was already frustrated that Andrei had not been fully honest, but the situation worsened when he made it seem like they were moving permanently after a big family party. When she saw a rental property he had been working on, she was further disappointed. The property had remained untouched for around 2 years, appeared filthy, and was filled with trash and supplies. "Please keep me informed," she asked, frustrated. "Why didn't you tell me?" But Andrei did not want to break the bad news, fearing she would rethink raising their family in Moldova. Elizabeth, despite her father Chuck's attempts to intervene, no longer trusted Andrei. She canceled her ticket and left for the U.S. with her children. This was not the first time Andrei had mismanaged finances or made poor investments. Upon arriving in America, he aspired to become a truck driver. With Chuck's help, he attended school and bought a truck, but the business attempt failed because he stayed home playing games while Elizabeth worked. Andrei then switched careers, moving into real estate despite having no prior experience. To start, he required $100,000 from Chuck, and later lost almost another $100,000 in a separate investment. The worst part is that Andrei caught Elizabeth off guard with these decisions. She knew about other investments, but he used this situation to try to manipulate her willingness to relocate. It now seems doubtful that Andrei will convince Elizabeth to move overseas, especially given the recurring financial issues caused by his poor choices. He will have to explain what happened to his family when she returns to America and take responsibility for the lies he told. Despite this, Andrei will likely try to spin the situation to his advantage, as he has done in the past that Andrei's attempts to manipulate the situation created more tension. Elizabeth had already made up her mind. She would prioritize her children and her own safety over Andrei's plans. Leaving Moldova was not just about geography. It was about reclaiming control over her life and protecting her family from more financial mismanagement and broken promises. Back in the United States, Elizabeth faced the challenge of rebuilding their household alone. She moved in with her father, Chuck, who provided both emotional and practical support. The divorce left her responsible for raising 2 children without the partner she had once trusted implicitly. Sources close to Elizabeth say it was one of the hardest decisions of her life, but she felt she had no other option. Andrei's repeated failures, financially, emotionally, and in communication, left her with little choice. Meanwhile, Andrei remained in Moldova, grappling with the consequences of his decisions. His investments had failed, and his wife and children were gone. Friends and family expressed concern that his actions were patterns of recklessness rather than isolated mistakes. The failed truck business, the disastrous real estate ventures, and the recent losses in Moldova all painted a picture of someone who repeatedly overestimated his own abilities and underestimated the consequences of his choices. Despite his financial losses, Andrei tried to maintain an image of confidence. He continued to tell relatives and friends that everything was under control. But behind closed doors, sources say he was stressed and uncertain. His previous gambling habits, which had already caused severe financial strain, only added to the pressure. The recent revelations about his failed investments and attempts to mislead Elizabeth compounded his reputation as unreliable and irresponsible. Elizabeth, meanwhile, focused on stability. With Chuck's help, she ensured that her children had a safe and structured environment. She also sought advice from friends and former cast members about handling the complexities of her life in the public eye. Her goal was clear. She wanted to protect her children from being caught in the fallout of Andrei's decisions while gradually rebuilding her independence and sense of security. The tension between Andrei and Elizabeth also highlighted the difficulties of cross-cultural marriages, especially when language barriers and cultural expectations collide. Andrei's assumption that Elizabeth would automatically agree to move to Moldova was a major miscalculation. He underestimated her concerns about raising children in a new country, the logistics of schooling, and the realities of relocating. Elizabeth's lack of fluency in Romanian was not just a language issue. It represented a broader gap in understanding and decision-making between them. Fans watching the show noticed the strain. Many criticized Andrei for not being transparent and for trying to manipulate Elizabeth emotionally. Others sympathized with Elizabeth, acknowledging how difficult it must have been to navigate both her husband's ambitions and her own doubts while trying to remain composed on camera. Social media discussions highlighted the ongoing debate about who was right or wrong. But for Elizabeth and Andrei, it was never about winning an argument. It was about the future of their family. During this period, Andrei made additional attempts to secure financial stability. Reports indicate that he considered new business ventures in Moldova, hoping that success there might persuade Elizabeth to reconsider relocating. However, these efforts were seen by those close to the family as desperate attempts to regain control and prove himself, rather than carefully planned investments. Given his history, there was widespread skepticism that these ventures would succeed. Elizabeth's strategy was different. She wanted to take measured steps, focusing on practical solutions rather than dramatic gestures. She prioritized her children's education, housing, and emotional well-being. Every decision she made reflected a desire to build a sustainable and secure life for her family, independent of Andrei's influence. While Andrei remained in Moldova pursuing uncertain opportunities, Elizabeth strengthened her ties with supportive family members in the United States. The divorce proceedings added another layer of complexity. Andrei, who had once projected an image of confidence and authority, now faced legal and personal consequences. Elizabeth was granted full custody of their children, leaving Andrei with limited influence over their daily lives. The legal separation formalized what had already been emotionally established. Andrei no longer held the same position of trust or authority within the family. Throughout all of this, the impact on their children was profound. Sources described them as confused and distressed by the sudden changes, including the move back to the U.S. without their father. Elizabeth made every effort to maintain a sense of normalcy, keeping routines consistent and providing emotional support. Her goal was to shield the children from as much of the public scrutiny as possible while helping them understand the family's new reality. For Andrei, the public nature of their personal struggles added pressure. Being a reality TV star means every decision is scrutinized, and every mistake becomes fodder for fans and social media. While he attempted to maintain a confident front, behind the scenes he was reportedly dealing with the stress of failed investments, fractured family relationships, and the perception that he had lost credibility, both as a husband and as a businessman. The ongoing narrative of their lives serves as a cautionary tale. Andrei's repeated financial mismanagement, coupled with his failure to communicate honestly with Elizabeth, created a situation that could not be easily repaired. Even temporary fixes, like the lavish party and misleading gestures about relocating, only deepened the divide. Elizabeth's decision to leave Moldova was a practical response to years of instability and untrustworthiness. Observers also noted the stark contrast between Andrei's and Elizabeth's approaches. Andrei seemed focused on quick solutions, dramatic gestures, and attempts to maintain appearances. Elizabeth, on the other hand, prioritized long-term security and emotional stability. The clash between these approaches highlighted the risks of impulsive decision-making, particularly when it affects a family and involves substantial financial and emotional stakes. As the season of 90 Day Fiancé, happily ever after progress, the fallout from these decisions continued to play out on screen. Viewers witnessed the strain on Andrei and Elizabeth's marriage, the tension between personal desires and family responsibilities, and the challenges of navigating cultural and language differences. Each episode reinforced the difficulties of balancing public image with private reality, showing how quickly ambition and miscommunication can lead to significant consequences. Looking ahead, the story is far from over. Andrei remains in Moldova, potentially pursuing new ventures, while Elizabeth works to stabilize her family back in the United States. The divorce has formalized the separation, but the emotional and financial aftermath will continue to affect both parents and children. How Andrei rebuilds his life after repeated failures, and how